Welcome back to We've Tried It. This is Shirley. You can't really tell by looking at my hands. Today I'm going to show you how to make this infinity scarf using your yarn and fingers only. I had done a few of the arm scarves, the arm crocheting, and I wanted to see if I could recreate that on my fingers with the same number of loops, and I could. And what I liked about it is you get a much tighter weave than you do on the arm scarves. So all you're going to need is the yarn. I use the number 6 Wool Ease, thick and quick. There's 106 yards on this skein, and that makes the perfect infinity scarf. So if you can see there. And then I like to have a pencil on hand in case I need to take a break. Then I can just slide my loops onto the pencil. And then of course for the end, a pair of scissors to snip off the ends. So we're going to get started. So we just got to find the end of your yarn. We need to make a tail. For mine, I use approximately a 3-foot tail, just so I can bind the ends of the scarves together. So we got 1, 2, 3. And if you've done any of the arm crocheting, you're going to understand what I'm doing here. But if not, then pay close attention to how I'm getting this on my fingers. So you're just going to create your first loop by making a slip knot. So you take your yarn, you twist it, and you pull it through. And as you can see, you can go forward and backwards. So once again, just take your yarn, twist it, and pull it through. And then you're going to slip that onto your finger. And however tight you put it on your finger is how tight your loops are going to be. I have fairly small hands, and I can easily get all 12 of the loops needed. So to get started and get it on your fingers, what you're going to do is grab, you have your tail here, and you have your working yarn. You're going to grab it with your 2 fingers here, okay? Slip your thumb and your pointer finger inside the yarn, like this, inside the yarn. I'm holding the tail and the working yarn with my hand. So we're going to go like that, slip them in, and I'm just going to lift my fingers up. So again, you just slip your fingers in, lift them up, and this is what your fingers should look like. You're going to take your other pointer finger, slip it underneath the thumb, over the pointer finger, create the loop, drop your thumb out, and pull. That's going to create your loop on your finger. So you need to do 12 of these for the scarf. So again, under your thumb, over your pointer finger, drop your thumb, pull it down. And you can, from here, you can tighten how tight you want your loops. So once again, we've made the V, over, under, drop your thumb, tighten it up. This is actually what takes the longest on any of the steps. So we're going under, over, drop your thumb. Under, over, drop your thumb. Just keep squishing it down onto your finger till you have all 12 loops. Like I said, the tighter you do it, the tighter the loops on your scarf are going to be. So I have 7, so I'm going to do 5 more. Got my V, switched up, over, under, drop my thumb. Got my V, under, over, drop my thumb. Got my V, under, over, drop my thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. One more loop. It's, my finger's full, but it's really easy to work with. So I have my 12 loops on my finger. At this point, I'm done with my tail. I don't need to use it anymore. I'm just going to be working with the working yarn. So I'm just unwinding a few because it gets kind of tight. So what you're going to do is take your working yarn in your other hand, and this is going to be the finger you're going to put it on. So you're going to push it through the loop on my left hand, make a loop, and put it on your finger. Take this, take your working yarn, push it through the finger loop, and put it on the finger. And you can tighten as you go to keep your loop size the same. Make a loop, push it through. Pull it off. It takes a little bit to get used to, but I did, my first scarf took me about an hour and a half to complete. I did one last night and I got it finished in under an hour. So once again, we're just taking our working yarn, pushing it through the loop, and putting it onto the next finger. Take our working yarn, push it through the loop, and put it on the other finger. The first time you do this, you might want to make a looser loop. Just makes it a little bit easier until you figure it out. Take your working yarn, push it through your loop, and loop it onto the next finger. So you're just going to repeat this process through the entire yarn. You're just going back and forth. I have found that this yarn at 106 yards from beginning to end makes the perfect size for a double looped infinity scarf. If you want to wrap it around 3 times, you can just tie on some more of the same yarn and make it to the length that you want. So here we are, we're just about done with our first row. We're taking it through, putting it on. You can see just the start of it. Each time you're going to want to make sure you pull out your working yarn. Otherwise it just tightens it up a little bit when you're trying to loop it onto your fingers. So once again, we're going back onto the other hand. I'm taking my working yarn, loop it through, and slide it onto my finger. The other thing you want to make sure is that you're keeping the working yarn in front of your loops. That way you're going to have a front side and a back side of your scarf. If you're going with your working yarn in front and your working yarn in back, if you mix that through, then your scarf is not going to be even all the way through. So just try to keep it, I like to keep mine on the front. You may like to keep yours on the back. So, and the first scarf I made, somehow I picked up some extra loops. I'm not really sure how that happened, but it wasn't a problem. All I did to correct it was, instead of grabbing one loop, I grabbed 2 loops and looped it through. And you couldn't even tell on the scarf where the error had been made. So that worked out quite well. So once you get the hang of this, you can just do this anywhere. I mean, it's nice to not have to worry about taking needles or anything on an airplane. I mean, when I'm delivering presents on Santa's sleigh, I can just be making my scarves. So, I mean, in the car, if you're going on a long road trip, all you need is some yarn. I'm going to show you too. This is kind of nice that you can actually stop and take a break. So when the family needs something, or you just, just have a couple of minutes and you want to work on it for a few minutes, that's what the pencil's for. So you just make sure, I always stop on the same hand. So I always stop on the left hand. For this one, I'm going to stop on the right hand just to show you. So just complete your row like you would, and make sure you get your last loop on there pretty good. Sometimes you got to push them down your finger like this. So as you can see, this is the front of the scarf. You've got a nice tight loop there. I just take a pencil, stick it into the loop, and you can just lay it down. I like to lay my working yarn forward of it, so I know that when I pick it up, I know which direction the working yarn is. So on here, it's on the front side that you're viewing. So I just like to lay it down like this. When you're ready to get back at it, just slide it off the pencil, slide your fingers through, and you can keep going. So my family needs me a lot sometimes, so I've been able to stop and start a few times, which with the arm scarves, I was not able to do that. If you saw that, I was starting to put it on my left hand because that's what I normally do. I'm so used to starting and stopping on my left hand. But so just pull your pencil out, slide it back up on your finger, and you're ready to start again. Get your working yarn coming out again, and off you go. So, I mean, give yourself, if you want to do this from start to finish, give yourself an hour or so. First time might take you a little bit longer. That's okay. Play with it. Play with how tight you want it. I've done one that was really quite tight. I liked the way that turned out for warmth in the cold Wisconsin winters here. That's for our follower who keeps asking where we're from. We're from Wisconsin. Most people can tell by our accents. Sometimes they think we're Canadians. So just going to finish this one up here. And then I have another one that is just about completed. So I'm going to show you how to finish it off. And if you've done the arm scarves or anything like that, it's finishing it exactly the same way. But if you haven't, and this is your first time trying any arm or finger crocheting, great, you're going to know how to do it. So here we go. So I'm just going to put my pencil onto here so that I can finish this up later tonight. And I'm going to just set this one aside. So I'm going to show you here. So this is what it's looking like so far. It's hard to tell in the beginning, but it works. Set that one aside. So here I have one that is nearly completed. I just really like to measure it and see how many times around my neck I'd like it to go. And this was a shorter skein of yarn, so I did tie on a second skein. Just tie them together, pull it tight. You can snip your ends or tuck them in on the end. And I do know that I did do this for my left hand, because that's my normal. So I've got them put back on there. I'm going to get some working yarn here. I'm just going to go through again, showing you just one more row I'll do here. So we're going to take the yarn, push it through, put it onto the other finger. Oops. Sorry, I was a little tied up there. You're going to take it, push it through, put it onto the other finger. Push it through on the other finger. This one I'm doing a little bit looser When I started, I just wanted to see how that would turn out, and I really like it. I like this pattern of the yarn because it just gives you a little bit of variation on your scarf with the dark and the light color. I'm kind of wound up here. Actually, I'm very wound up. Okay. So let's just get these last couple of loops done. I like to pull mine forward, usually about halfway through. Okay, so there, we're just going to say that would be our last row that we're doing. I'm getting my working yarn up here. So to finish off, it's just a little bit different than doing a row. What you're going to do is just like you were doing before, you're going to do one on, put the one on your finger just like regular, push it through onto your finger. At this point here, you have two on your finger. You're just going to take the second one, the first one you put on, so the second one on your finger, pull it over and drop it. So you're going to have one on your finger. Then you're going to repeat the process. You're going to push your working yarn through, create a loop, put it onto your finger. Take this second one, pull it over, and drop it. Take your working yarn, push it through, make a loop, put it onto your finger. You can see there where I had a tie on. You're going to take your second loop, take it off, drop it. And you're just going to continue that process until the end. Drop it. Create your loop, take your second one here, take it off, drop it. This is just finishing off the end of the scarf. Take this on, take your first, and drop it. Put your loop on, take this one off, and drop it. All the way to the end. And this is a 12 stitch wide scarf. So, take your working yarn, put it on, drop it. Pull it through, drop it. Okay, and then on your last one, you do the same thing. You take this one off, and then you just hold this one here. This is the end, and you're just going to end up tying this off. So at this point, you're going to cut your working yarn. Wow, I guess I need a new pair of scissors. Set your working yarn aside there. So take your final one and tie it off how you like to best. I just tie a nice knot, tighten it up real well, and then you can take your working yarn end and you can just weave it in to the scarf like that, just weaving it through. And then you can do the same thing with your loop. So depending on how big your loop was when you finished, you're just going to weave it in. So at this point, you have a beginning and an end of your scarf. Up, beginning and an end. So what you're going to do at this point to create the infinity of the scarf is you're going to take your two ends here, got your beginning and the end, and you have your original tail you created. You're just going to take your tail and you're basically going to sew it through. So sew the two pieces together. You know, I like to pull it pretty tight when I'm going through. It doesn't really make that big a difference, you know, if you're exact on where you're pulling it through on each one. Just make sure you're getting it through both of them. Any loops or tie-offs you can just tuck in. You can snip off if your end's got a little too long. And just keep going all the way to the end. Tie off your end and you have your infinity scarf. So the next video I'm going to make, so you're going to want to watch for it, is I'm going to be making matching headbands using only my fingers to create a buttoned headband. So what a great gift you can give somebody, a full set of an infinity scarf with a matching headband. You know, 2 skeins of yarn and your fingers, and you have a great Christmas present. So I think you've figured out here how to finish it off. Just tie it up and boom, you have your infinity scarf. And as you can see, this one's a little bit looser than the first one that I was doing, and it all is dependent on how tightly you put the loops on your fingers. You can do them either tight to your finger or loose, and that's all dependent on how your scarf is going to look. So I hope that you are able to create your infinity scarf using only your fingers, and that you're going to check back and watch our next video. Thank you.